Yes, it is finally time for a bike build again. Ooh, fun, fun, fun. But I need to come clean straight away. This bike will not be something I ride. It belongs to my trusty riding mate, Dura the Magnificent. Dura was actually the guy who got me hooked on the original Open Up back in 2017, I think it was, when he got original Open Up Classic. And while I had like 4 bikes since then, Dura is a sane man who puts his bike to good use and don't obsess about weight or like change his bike every season. But after like 5+ years, it was finally time for a new bike, and he's letting me build it up. Bless the man. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to do some bike build content, and especially since this frame is not what you find in everyone's stable. And as you will see, this will be a very sensible bike build in my opinion. A few not so common parts that will really make this bike unique to its owner, and it's not something that you will find in a lot of bike shops around the world. So it's not going to be a weight weenie build, but I did manage to nudge him in that direction on a few areas. So I thought I would do something similar to the Echo build. So in this first video, we'll take a closer look at the frame, all the parts, get all the weights sorted and lined up, and see where we might end up in terms of a total bike weight once this is done. Dura might not care, but I definitely do. Then in the next video I can focus on putting this bike together without worrying about all the small little details. So the obvious start is the frame, and it is the Aurum Magma in this matte pale pink. This is probably the most difficult color to really show off in a video. It really deserves to be seen in real life, but I will do my best. The Magma was actually on my own shortlist back when I got the Trek Emonda, but at that time the international shipping wasn't really happening yet, so Emonda it was in my case, and now Cyclism is the distributor here in Japan, so at least I get a chance to build it up now. So I did not plan on doing an unboxing, but I have to point out that this was a pretty pleasant experience. Very neatly packed, no single-use plastics in the box itself. All the frame parts and accessories are in a neat little zipped pouch bag thingamajig, which did contain a few small plastic bags to be fair, but it's much better than most frames I've come across in the past. Happy to see that they included a brake hose foam tube to help with any rattling, and even some Aurum bar tape, although for this build we will keep that as a backup only. Another neat addition is the inclusion of 2 different headset top spacers, so if you're blessed with a really aggressive position, you can really get your slam on if you wanted to. A nice treat, I think. Otherwise, nothing out of the ordinary. You get what you would expect with the new frame set. Bottom bracket shell is a BB386 Evo, and it takes a bog standard 27.4mm seat post, which was one reason I looked at this over the Emonda a few years back. While not 100% internal cable routing, both brake hoses enter just below the upper bearing on the head tube, so we should be able to get a pretty neat cockpit area, and knowing my sweaty friend, having easy access to that top bearing for service will not hurt. Alright, time to put my new scale to work. The frame with the front derailleur hanger and bottle cage bolts landed at 920.9 grams. Add the rear hanger, seat post wedge and cover, and you have a complete frame at 957.8 grams. The fork is 374 uncut, so that brings the frame set to 1331.8 grams. Not really weight weenie territory, but it's definitely something I can work with. Headset with the small toe spacer is 64 grams, with the bigger one coming in at 77.5. The long ass expanders should make the YouTube cycling dads breathe a sigh of relief. That combined with the top cap and bolt is 53.8 grams. Positively surprised about the Aurum through axles at 51.8 grams for the pair. No need to start eBay hunting if this had been my bike, that is. As mentioned, we will not use the Aurum bar tape for now, but since we have the scales out, here's that weight. What we will use is the Silka bar tape. That's pretty light at 67 grams uncut. The plugs at almost 30 grams we will throw into the mountains of Mount Doom, where they belong. The reliable Token Ninja with the 24mm adapters at a hefty 130.6 grams is the bottom bracket of choice. I can easily swap the bearings without removing the cups, as I shown in a previous video, and yeah, safe bet for this build, even though it's not the lightest. Speaking of 24mm, that brings us to the group set. And as the sensible man he is, Dura has gone for the Ultegra 12-speed Di2, including crank. And while I would like to save some weight here, Dura is a sensible man that prioritizes shifting quality over weight. Probably the right call, as long as you're not me. I did, however, convince him to go for the Dura Ace, shift levers and brake caliper set or kits. In my opinion, at least here in Japan, if you're willing to spend a little extra somewhere on the group set, the lever and brake kits is where to do it. It's way cheaper than upgrading any of the derailleurs, and you get that one-piece caliper, and in my opinion, they look nicer. So, quick rundown of the weights for the group. Front derailleur 111 grams with mounting hardware. Rear derailleur is 260.2, and that is 42 grams more than the Dura Ace, if you're wondering. Compact Ultegra crank in 172.5 length is a hefty 710.8 grams, and 340.8 grams for the 11 to 34 Ultegra cassette, also not qualifying for any weight weenie awards. Much easier on the wallet than the Dura Ace though. 12-speed XDR chain uncut, 248.2 grams. A delicious set of Dura Ace levers filled with brake fluid and plugs are 368.5 grams. Rear brake caliper assembly including hose, pads and mounting bolts is 158.6, while the front kit is 152.1. If you're curious about the bare weight of the calipers, check my Dura Ace video from last year for all that nitty gritty. All the Di2 and Di2 battery bits is 78.3 grams. I should mention the cable lengths because the most asked question I get is 1200 millimeters and 900 millimeters. Now to the finishing kit, and here Dura has gone for a complete matching kit from German brand Beast. Carbon handlebar, seat post and stem, all in this pretty sweet semi-gloss finish or satin finish, I don't know what you call it. Looks nice though. I was mostly intrigued by the handlebars that had this flat platform behind the levers, but still pretty round tops, which I prefer. That flat area looks like a pretty comfortable place for the palms when just rolling along talking shit like we do most of the time on our rides. Weight is 250.7 grams. Seat post seems like a standard affair, a universal saddle clamp, so no parts to swap depending on what rails you have. 165.4 grams added to the tally. Stem is also carbon with a metal faceplate and shares the same finish as the seat post and handlebar. Weight is 137.5 grams. So you can't really call this weight weenie parts, but it will certainly tie this bike nicely together, in my opinion. Perched onto the seat post will be a padded Berkeley Pina carried over from an old bike of his. No need to change the best, you know. 101.3 grams. Delicious. Bottle cages, a Arundel mandible, even I can't argue with that despite the weight at 52.8 for the pair. Best cages out there in my opinion. You might not agree, but I don't care. Pedals. Yes. Did you think I would leave out pedals from this build plan? The day I leave out pedals when specifying bike weights is the day I will delete this channel. It's not gonna happen. Anyway, Dura is rocking the Wahoo Speedplay Power Link. It's what they call now, right? Power meters just adds unnecessary weight in my book, but I mean, each to its own. And to be fair, the weight of these are pretty decent at 278.7 for the pair. Now, as you have noticed, I have not really touched the wheel area apart from that cassette. And that is because the wheels has not arrived yet. And it's actually a bit up in the air if the wheels will arrive before this bike needs to be completed. Dura has a set of light bicycle wheels as a backup, kind of the same as mine, same rims, but on Novatech hubs, I think it was. So he won't be without wheels, but the wheels that are coming for this family will really tie this whole package together. And that's a big hint, but without spoiling that for now, the weight of that wheel set is supposed to be around 1,440 grams. So let's say it's not some aluminium box section wheels, that's for sure. I can, however, spill the beans on the tires, and that is the Schwalbe Pro Ones, tubeless of course, 28 millimeters, 591 grams for the pair. And I forced Dura to take a pair of XTR MT900 rotors off my hands to hang on those unspecified hubs, 107.7 and 87.9 for the 160 and 140 millimeter respectively. Now that should be everything I have put on the scales for this build that I have on hand. Now, of course, like every build, you need to cut some chains, cut some brake hoses, snip that steerer and stuff like that. So there will be some grams deducted. We also need to add a few grams for stuff like sealant, tubeless tape, and some rubber grommets here and there. So the projected bike weight would probably land around here. And if I'm not missing something major, I think we should be able to keep this bike with those new wheels under 7.5 kilos. And I can't believe I have to point this out, but that is with pedals, as one should always include pedals, and a power meter, which you don't always need to include at all. Now, could I get this bike down to 6.8? I definitely could. But it's not my bike, and even though we ride together all the time and I keep nagging him about the way of the weight, he, well, rightfully so, ignores me on all my gibberish, and he has basically hand selected every single part on this bike to really make it his own unique bike that, yeah, he will be happy to throw his leg over for years to come, without dorks like me nagging him about weights and stuff like that, even though I would like to. I want my own now, god damn it. So stay tuned, the next video will be me building up this pink pony, and hopefully I will be able to do that without any major mistakes. I need to remember that he has his brakes backwards. Why would you know? That's another story. Until then, peace. Going for that cozy feeling this time.